Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Quijano. It's nearly 2018, and we're still talking about emails, but they aren't Hillary Clinton's. Major Garrett is at the White House.
After President Trump returned from Camp David Sunday, reporters asked if he was considering firing special counsel Robert Mueller.
No, I'm not.
But Mr. Trump said attorneys for his transition were angered by Mueller's move to obtain emails from their office as part of his Russia investigation.
My people were very upset about it. I can't imagine there's anything on them, frankly, because, as we said, there's no collusion. There's no collusion whatsoever.
In a letter to Congress, a transition attorney called the seizure of emails unlawful and accused the General Services Administration, the government agency that provided computers and this office space to the Trump transition, of illegally handing over privileged or private communications to Mueller's team. A spokesman for Mueller said all emails collected by investigators came through, quote, either the account owner's consent or appropriate criminal process. The acquisition of transition emails, illegal?
No.
Unethical?
No.
John Wood is a former U.S. attorney.
The individuals don't have any right to privacy in these emails because they were on a government server, so they should have known that they had no right to privacy in them.
The General Services Administration had no comment. The email squabble feeds growing Republican skepticism of Mueller's investigation. Last week, many in the GOP seized on text messages from a former Mueller investigator as evidence of bias against Mr. Trump. Republican John Cornyn of Texas.
Well, I have confidence in Director Mueller. I would just think he would be concerned about the appearance of conflicts of interest.
Sources tell CBS Mueller and his team have had these emails, the disputed ones, since August, and has used them in some cases in interviews with White House and transition officials. Mr. Trump's personal lawyers will meet with Mueller and his team later this week for an update on the status of the Russia investigation. Elaine?
So, Major, if the special counsel has had these emails since the summer, if they've been used in interviews, why are Trump lawyers raising these concerns now?
It's an important question, and there's an important distinction. Not Trump's lawyers, not Mr. Trump or President Trump's lawyers.
White House.
A lawyer, no, not even White House. A lawyer on behalf of the Trump transition.
Right.
And that lawyer argued that this collection of emails violated, from this particular lawyer's point of view, the Transition Act, first put together in 1963 and updated several times, which this lawyer asserts creates an umbrella of privileged nature of these emails. Other lawyers I talked to today who are very experienced in this particular highly specific area of the law disagreed and say, as we had quoted one in our piece, one former U.S. attorney, John Wood, a George W. Bush appointee, by the way, so you can take that for what it's worth, that there is no either blanket or implied privilege to these communications. So that's one lawyer representing the transition on behalf of the institutional strength and privileged communication, that lawyer asserts, of the transition, not the White House and not the president's own personal attorneys. Those who I've talked to who are familiar with the ongoing process between the White House and the Mueller team does not find anything about the email acquisition or their use in some of the interviews that have transpired since August either objectionable or unethical.
All right. Thank you for clarifying, Major. Now, is the White House still saying that it believes this investigation by Special Counsel Mueller will wrap up soon?
Yes, and here's another area where distinctions may be blurred and understandings of what's being said and what's being heard may reasonably differ. Let me try to explain what I'm getting at. Long conversations I've had for months now with the president's legal team, they have said this is going to wrap up by the end of the year, and they fully expect that something will be done or said to communicate not just to the president and his legal team, but to the rest of the country, that the presidential aspect of this investigation will have reached some conclusion. The White House, the president, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the president's spokesperson, and his legal team believe that ultimate resolution will mean the president will be in some form cleared and this cloud of investigation will be removed from him. Does that mean Mueller's team ends all of its operations and closes up shop? No, it doesn't, because there's clearly one case that has to be prosecuted. The indictment's still pending against Paul Manafort and Rick Gates, significant players during the Trump campaign and for a while during the Trump transition, at least in the case of Rick Gates. So that case needs to be prosecuted. There still may be other charges that Mueller and his team put forward. Those would need to be prosecuted as well if they don't result in a plea agreement. So when people hear Mueller may be ending, that doesn't mean his entire operation will shut down or his prosecutions will end. What it may mean is at some point in the not too distant future, at least this is the White House hope and the hope of his attorneys, the president will in some form or another be cleared of the Mueller investigation. So you could have one truth, clearing of the president, and another truth, Mueller's investigation on many other fronts continuing for several months.
All right, Major Garrett at the White House for us. Major, thanks very much.